All right. Hey, how's things? So, where were we up to? Actually, just a real quick recap for those who didn't watch the first video. I'm Sean from Australia. Like to travel. Travelled through most of Asia. Go watch the first video. It'll teach you about most of that stuff. Anyway, so I think I was up to pretty much what I've done up until this year. So this year it had been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years from COVID, and I hadn't travelled for quite a while, and it was time for me to travel again. So I was looking for something that was going to be a bit cheaper. As I mentioned previously, I was looking for something that was cheaper. I was going to travel by myself for the first time, so preferably someplace where people spoke English mostly would be good, and not too far away. But really, cheap was good. Anyway, so my options. I was looking at Laos, Cambodia, and Philippines really. They were the places I'd never been to before. Laos and Cambodia both obviously mostly don't speak English. I like to get out into the rural areas or away from tourists where I can, so having some place that I can go where people do speak English was going to help me a bit. So Philippines it was. So essentially I flew into Manila. I spent probably 2 or 3 days in Manila, I think it was, and was just really trying to see what the new city was like. I'm not hugely into cities, so it wasn't really my thing, if I'm being completely honest, but still it's nice to go someplace new and see new things, and jeepneys were there and trikes and other bits and pieces that you just don't see in Australia, so that was pretty cool. I stayed down near Mall of Asia, so it's a fairly sort of modern, I mean a lot of it's modern, but popular modern area. Had a walk throughout that area over a couple of days, just sort of hung out, got the feel for the area, ate a bit of food. It wasn't actually what I was expecting to, if I'm going to be completely honest. I was expecting to go to Philippines and I was expecting to find like street food in multiple places and like lechon or sinigang or just like carinderias and places to eat everywhere, and it really, that part of Manila anyway, or maybe it is like that in places around there and I just didn't go into the back streets to find it. I don't know, but it wasn't what I was expecting. It was kind of like most other cities in Asia, just busy and everyone's rushing around doing their own thing and no one really wanted to stop and chat, or it was just everyone's busy living their lives. Probably really wasn't my favourite part of the trip, but still good to go there and see. So the place I stayed in Manila was an Airbnb. It was took about 15 or 20 minutes from the airport to get there, which is, like I said, down near Mall of Asia. You can see in the video that it's not a bad place. Small, but big enough with a decent bathroom, which is good enough for what I need. TV, which has Netflix and everything that you could want on it. Swimming pool outside that I could use. Yeah, it's good for the value. I think I paid $45 Australian per night for it, or roughly around that. And Manila's massive, so there's probably heaps more for me to see there. And I'm sure at some point in time I'll get back there more and more and I'll see other parts of it, and maybe we'll find other areas that I do like. In a more recent trip, I did go back and stay in BGC, which felt really like Singapore. I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed down at Mall of Asia, but I still think that if I got further out into some of the more, not rural, I don't know what the word you would use for it is, like the suburbs, I guess you would call them, or the outer city areas, I guess, not in the province, but still in there, I'd still probably enjoy that a lot. But yeah, that particular bit, those first couple of days, was right in the city and it wasn't really my thing, but it was a good introduction and getting used to the weather. From there, I flew out to Cebu and flew down and stayed on near the airport just for one night. Hired a motorbike at the same time, which was right nearby there. I ended up with a basically brand new NMAX, which has a nice big under seat for anyone who does like riding motorbikes. The under seat section on that is massive. You can fit heaps of stuff in there, so that was good. And came with like a box on the back where you could put your helmet in, or more stuff in if you prefer. I think I was about, I'm going to use Australian dollars, but I think I paid maybe 17 or 18, which is probably high if you're looking at just generally hiring a motorbike or a scooter over there. If you're hiring like a 125, you can probably get them for $10 or $11 a day or something like that pretty easily. You could probably even get like an NMAX or one of those sort of larger 155 or 160cc ones for probably $15 or $14 even, maybe, I would guess. But I found when I do that, the 125s just feel a bit small, and the wheels on them are small, and they just don't handle the road, and they certainly don't handle the off-road as well. So the bigger ones are nicer, I think. You get much more space under the seat to store stuff. They handle better, they go better. And having paid $2 or $3 per day more, and meaning I get a brand new one, or I think it had done 2,000 kilometres or something like that. Having done it, to get a brand new one, that seemed like a good deal, and it was excellent. It was really good. I was very happy with it. The hotel where I was staying, which was Eloisa Royal Suites, I believe it was called. It's very near the airport, probably only 15 or 10 minutes maybe. It was very close. It was nice. I remember how much, maybe it was about $50 Australian. Might have been a bit less, but it was nice. I did get put on a room right at the very front of the building, and it's a main road that runs past the front, so it was noisy, pretty noisy, up until like 2 in the morning, and then it was noisy again from about 5 in the morning onwards. They do have rooms that go right back, further back, so if you do go there, I'd be asking for a room that's not at the front of the property. That would be much quieter, but yeah. So from there, man, it was hot. It was really hot. In fact, Philippines was having like this unheard of or once in 100 years type heat wave going through there at that time, and it had been going on for a couple of months, to the point where like they'd shuttle the schools and everything like that. So it was really hot. Like most days were 38, but they felt like they were 45 or 50 or something. It was very hot. But Eloise Royal Suites, they did have a gym, small one, and I was like, well, I haven't done gym yet for a couple of days because of travel and whatnot, so I would like to do that. So I went and used their gym. The only issue was that it's a small room with a huge, great big open, the whole front of it is glass, looking straight at the sun. So it was about 4,000 degrees in there. Obviously I went in and opened the door and turned the air conditioning on and all that, but it was not enough to look after it. So by the time I'd done about 2 or 3 hours worth of gym in there, I probably had sweated out 3/4 of my body weight just about, I reckon. And I went back to the room, drank some water, and thought I'll just lie down for a second. And then suddenly it was no longer like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or whatever time it was when I lay down. It was almost midnight. I think I'd lost the day basically. I'd fallen asleep, and that was the end of that. And then from there, I pretty much just sort of started traveling. Now the plan for Cebu for this trip was really no plan. It was the general outline was that I was going to try and ride down the east coast, around the bottom, up the west coast, around the top, and then back down the east coast to Cebu again. And I figured if I did a couple hours a day roughly, or maybe 3 or 4 hours on one day, and then I'd have a couple of days at one place, I could do it in about 2 weeks. So that was the plan. Jump on the bike in the morning and just ride a couple of hours and find a place to stay. Once I found a place to stay, that would be it. Just sort of stay there for the night and have a look around that area if there's anything interesting to look at. And then the next day, pretty much do the same thing. Plan to go a couple of hours and find a place to stay and go that way. The beauty of doing it like that, I found, and I didn't realise this at the time, but if you book accommodation anywhere from what I've seen, but definitely in the Philippines, if you're booking accommodation now for a holiday in 6 months, you're pretty much going to be paying whatever their rates are. If you're booking your accommodation a week or two before and it's peak period and they've only got 1 or 2 rooms left, those prices are going to jack up. They go up a lot. If you're happy staying in whatever you can find, and I had no troubles. I had no troubles finding places to stay. if you wait until within 24 hours of when you want to stay and then you start looking online, most places have like big discounts. So for most of my trip, I rarely spent more than, I spent between sort of 30 and 60 Australian dollars per night, but it was pretty rare that I spent over 50. But most places I stayed were usually places that are normally at $150 or $300 a night. And it was just because it was within 24 hours of when they were planning, of when I was planning on being there. And they weren't going to get the room filled. So they put this big 70% discount or 60% discount or 80% discount on as a really short term, just for that in the next 20 hours type thing, so they can maybe squeeze somebody in there, because it costs them nothing really. The room's going to be there regardless, so they may as well get what they can. So I found by traveling that way and just booking each day as I went, I got much better discounts, and really nice places that were half the price or 70% off the price of what you would normally pay. So that was cool. I got to stay in some nice places, which I'm going to show you over the course of the videos that I'm doing here as to where I stayed and what it was like. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. We left Aloysius Suites the next morning. I left, I should say, and braved the traffic of Cebu, went through Talisay City going south, and about 2 hours roughly, I think, maybe it took me a little longer, I'm not sure, maybe 2.5 hours, and ended up at Kaka City. And I was staying at the Eco Farm Resorts there. I think I paid, I feel like it was about 25 or 30 Australian dollars. It's good. It's like rooms that are made out of old 40-foot containers and turned into rooms, which was interesting. But aircon worked, they were clean, the bathrooms were very big and fresh, and it was good. The only thing is that there was like the big pool there gets rented out through, I think locals can just come and pay for a daily fee to come and use it, and it was packed full of people, and I was, kind of one of my first few days there and feeling a little sort of out of place, if I'm being completely honest, being the only white guy that was around. I was wouldn't have minded going for a swim, but I didn't, because I just kind of felt a little awkward. But that was all right. I just chilled in my room and aircon and watched some Netflix, and then went and got some dinner downstairs afterwards, and it was good. It was a good start. That was pretty much all I did that day, really. It was by the time I picked up the bike in the morning and then got myself set and ready to go and pushed through the traffic and rode about 2 hours down there, and I stopped a few times along the way just to take photos and look at the little towns along the way, and it was good, very beautiful. It just kind of amazes me how beautiful the Philippines is. Like that part there was the first time I'd ever gotten out of a city in the Philippines, and I reckon once I got past the city area, the city limit I guess you'd call it, and started seeing like the beaches, and well, along there it's kind of rocky, but the highway runs pretty much along the coast, so like the coastline is beautiful, and you can see the mountains off in the distance, and yeah, it's very beautiful. I found myself stopping every 10 minutes trying to take another photo of places, just being like, wow, this is amazing, I need to take a photo of that. I'd ride another 10 minutes, I'm like, oh no, this is even better, I'd have to take a photo of that. Eventually you get to the point where I was like, right, focus, ride, we've got to try and get someplace. But yeah, it's amazingly good looking. Good looking? Is that what you call an area? It's beautiful. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, stayed there for the night and then moved on. Right, that's probably enough for this story. So we'll continue it on with the next video and see where we end up then. Like, subscribe. I keep saying it's awkward. It is kind of awkward, but it'd be awesome if you could. Anyway, have a good one, and I'll see you on the next video.